A Knock at the Cabin comes out this weekend, which means M. Night Shyamalan is back. He's bringing us another one of these horror, thriller, suspense, genre-bending type of films that we love and we hate, and we love and hate at the same time. And I'm definitely happy to be here on the ride. This time we have a film about this beautiful family, Eric, Andrew, and Wynn, who are on vacation. Eric and Andrew take their daughter to the great outdoors. They rent a cabin in the woods, and they are allowing her to do things that every 7-year-old should be able to do. Catch grasshoppers and jump into the lake to swim and all those beautiful things, and just enjoying themselves away from all the hustle and the bustle of their lives. Unfortunately for them, they picked the cabin that was seen in visions of 4 individuals who believe the end of the world is nigh at hand. And these individuals know that if they don't get to this cabin and talk to this family, the apocalypse is going to happen. So you have these 4 characters descend on this cabin. The first person they meet is Wynn. Wynn is out catching grasshoppers, which is what they want her to do. Bautista, towering man, sees little Wynn and goes and has a conversation with her that's like the sweetest conversations you could think of. It's off-putting to Wynn, but Wynn opens up because the man is so nice until she learns that he's not alone. She rushes back into the house to tell her fathers, hey, there's people outside. They look dangerous. They have these weapons. What are we going to do? These home invaders come in. They tie them up, but they're not like the typical home invaders you would think. They're very polite. They almost seem like they're in business casual. Everybody has up on button downs, and they speak very respectfully. They introduce themselves. They tell a little bit about their life story, and they express to them that they don't want to be there, but they have to be there because that family was chosen to make a choice. Someone in that family has to die. They have to pick someone to sacrifice in order to escape the apocalypse, to escape the end of the world. Obviously, Eric and Andrew and Wynn, they think that these people are insane, they're nuts. We're not going to do it. The answer is no. But the thing is, every no that they give them, another plague is unleashed on the earth. Either it's sickness and disease, earthquakes and tsunamis happen on earth with every no that these 4 receive. So they're questioning, and you're questioning as the audience, are these 4 right, or are they just crazy and it's all just a crazy coincidence? Dave Bautista has come so far as an actor. I remember him when he was just a wrestler. When he first came into the WWE, he couldn't even put 2 sentences together. They didn't trust him on the mic. They put him as the muscle of a faction, and he had mouthpieces for him. And to see him become a huge character in wrestling and then go on to do film, not just comedies and actions, but these really dramatic roles, and really put the work in to perfect his craft. I think he's going to be around for a while because he's so committed to the work, and he does such a great job. He's great in this role of a conflicted man in terms of physically and emotionally. His huge guy is so sweet and so polite. You don't feel like that there's a violent bone in his body. It is a really great character piece. I think the other 3 cultist people do pretty good too. Rupert Grint, after Harry Potter, which everybody knows him from, he's probably always going to be attached to those works. But he does this really good job in his roles that he's picking, where he kind of plays an asshole. Somebody that's not very likable, someone who has a lot of deep-seated hatred within him. He's just not a very likable guy. I think of The Servant on Apple TV. I love him in that role. He's doing something similar here. He does a great American accent too. He's very good in this. Nikki Amuka-Bird and Abby Quinn play the other 2, are the nurturers and the healers of the group. You really get to see the humanity through all 4 of these characters in different ways. Jonathan Groff plays Eric, Ben Aldridge plays Andrew, and then Kristen plays Wynn. They're a really cute family. I think that Andrew and Eric, their chemistry works sometimes it doesn't. Most of their relationship you get to know through flashbacks, and the flashbacks are more about Andrew's trauma of not being accepted, or their couple not being accepted, either while they're out to eat or when they're talking to Andrew's parents, who completely dismiss and seems to disown them. So it's really much more about Andrew than it is about Eric. But you do see some differences between this couple. You have Andrew, who is very protective. He's like us against the world because the world hates us. He's very skeptical and strong and has this protective vibe about him. But Eric's very sweet, and he's contemplative, and he's forgiving, and there's a nice dichotomy between those 2, but I don't think you spend enough time within their relationship as you would want to really tie that in together. Maybe it's just bad timing because I'm comparing it to The Last of Us episode 3, where those characters were completely fleshed out in terms of their relationship. Maybe that's what I'm comparing it to. I don't know. But hey, they do okay. The characters really help to make this movie because it's all in a cabin. It's very enclosed. You need those characters to really move the story along. I think that we get some of the same common tropes and motifs that M. Night Shyamalan is so good at in terms of color and this disjointed colors that he puts into his films that helps to cause unease, these extreme close-ups to these wide shots to really try to take the humanity away or bring the humanity in, especially with these extreme close-ups. There's a conversation between Quinn and Leonard, which is Dave Bautista's characters right in the beginning, where Dave Bautista, who comes out of nowhere and is really far off and he looks very menacing and scary, but once it gets to Quinn, they have this sweet conversation about catching grasshoppers, and you're scared for her because it's like one of those situations you see where kids get snatched up because they've been tricked, but then also you're starting to trust this guy too, and that kind of plays into the rest of the film. I think that those things work really well. One thing I will warn you guys about is you do not want to come into this film expecting or looking for the twist and surprise ending and all those types of things, because it's going to take away from the film. I think that was the case for Old and a couple of his other more recent films. He has things in there for the fans because they know what they're looking for, but he also seems to be trying to escape this relationship with these Hitchcockian type of endings so that his audience stops investigating his films as opposed to just consuming them as pieces of storytelling. I think that that's a better way to go about this film. So that's my warning. The twists and the turns are not as important in this film. One thing I really didn't like about this film, and it takes it down quite a few points for me, is that M. Night Shyamalan does a lot of hand-holding in this film, and it's not something I'm used to with his films. He doesn't tend to treat his audience this way. He's trying to obviously say something about how the world treats those who are different, those who are othered. Specifically in this case, LGBTQ couples and relationships and love and families, and how they're ostracized by a huge part of the world. Even if it was true that the world was going to end if somebody didn't get sacrificed, Andrew basically says a couple times, who cares? The world is against us anyway. All we got is each other. All we need is each other. You're saying that we're going to live. Let us just live the earth by ourselves if that's the case. If this crazy thing is really true. And you feel the pain and the hurt in that, but then it just beats you over the head over and over and over again. It just keeps coming back to it. And then it just directly says it in this huge speech that is so on the nose. You really don't expect that from an M. Night Shyamalan film. And I was pretty disappointed by that. Either he didn't trust his audience enough to get the points that he was trying to make, or he didn't trust himself as a filmmaker. One of the two had to happen. Didn't like that much, and it took it down a notch for me. This is usually where I say see it, stream it, or skip it. I fight back and forth. 3.5 stars is normally a stream it. If you don't want to spend the extra money, goes to the theaters, you can wait for it to come to the streamers. But there's a lot of really cool visual things that happen here, and there's a conversation that I think you can have as the film goes on that makes it worth a theater viewing experience. Even though it's 3.5 stars for me, I'm still going to recommend for you to see this in the theaters if you can. The performances are great. The Sophie's Choice that's set up in this film is great. I think it's a good time, despite it being so preachy at points and being so on the nose at points. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a guy that loves movies. So if you're planning to see A Knock at the Cabin this weekend, please let me know in the comment section below and come back and let me know what you think of the film. I also want to let you know that I've started a new web series on YouTube on Tuesdays called See It. Tuesdays, 5 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to be talking about movies. I'm going to be doing trailer reactions. I'm going to be giving some trivia. This upcoming week, I want to talk a little bit about Black history and Black directors. I'm sure there's going to be breaking news as well. Check me out every Tuesdays, 5 p.m. Eastern for See It. Also, make sure that you subscribe and you know when my shorts come out, I'm doing shorts on Black history and Black film as well. Thank you, and I'll see you at the theaters next week.